Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We are excited to introduce our next. I had to clear my throat. We are excited to introduce our next guest. First time guest of the show. Long time listener, first time participant in the show. Brooke Kirchhofer. Brooke, I appreciate you. She is a host/reporter.
You just motored right through that last name, didn't you?
New Orleans.football. I got that. I went through that. I didn't want to mess it up.
Like a run-on.
I didn't want to mess it up.
Welcome to the show.
I didn't want to mess it up. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. And you last name.
What's that?
You killed the last name. Got it right.
I tried. I had to make sure. I didn't want to. I just wanted to speed right through that thing just in case. Just in case. There's been a lot of talk in New Orleans right now. A lot of things have happened, right? Obviously, Alvin Kamara goes through his deal. You have Kareem Hunt in New Orleans. Maybe signing, maybe not signing. Who knows? Leaves to go to Indianapolis. Leaves Indianapolis without a deal. You signed Derek Carr in the offseason. There's a lot of good things I feel like that are happening in New Orleans. What's the vibe? What is the feeling around the facility right now?
Well, in regard to the suspension you just talked about, I think Alvin Kamara getting ahead of it and going and meeting with Roger Goodell paid off. Only getting a 3-game suspension for the season.
Right?
He's only going to miss the first. It is a win. When you look at some of these suspensions in the past and what some of these guys have done to get these suspensions, it's typically anywhere from 4 to 6 games. So the fact that it was only a 3-game suspension is a good thing for the Saints. But they also went out and got Kendre Miller in the draft. Of course, we thought this Kareem Hunt deal was going to come together, and he would have been great to fill Alvin's role as a good pass catcher, out of the backfield for the New Orleans Saints in those first 3 games. But the fact is, didn't happen. Kind of weird how that all played out, too, on social media of, is it happening, is it not happening? He was there. And honestly, the other deal that was going on with the Jonathan Barr, the linebacker, who was also who also was in New Orleans. That was kind of a weird deal too. I don't know what happened. Of days of why that wasn't able to work out. It sounds like it was a money issue with both parties, but all in all, vibes are good around the New Orleans Saints. The fans are happy. Everybody's excited about the season. The fact that Michael Thomas is out there and kind of looking like his old self. I won't say he's back to his old self just yet, but the vibes are good in New Orleans.
Brooke. Are you going to bring that up?
No, I'm not going to bring up the video.
Okay.
Brooke,
right.
I've only been hearing rave reviews of Marshon Lattimore at camp this year. Can you talk a little bit about how he's doing and where things are with him? Because if he's right, it allows the defense to do a ton. So I would imagine that would be big things for the Saints this year.
Yeah, Marshon Lattimore looks great. Of course, he dealt with that lacerated kidney, pretty serious injury last year, but he did come back from it, was healthy at the end of the season. But it takes a while to get back to your true self, especially when you're Marshon Lattimore, one of the top cornerbacks in the league. Every single one-on-one so far in practice up to this point, when he's in practice, he had a Vets Day a couple days ago, but him and Michael Thomas has been best on best in one-on-ones. And Marshon Lattimore has gotten the better of Michael Thomas so far in camp. He has looked truly, Marshon Lattimore, like his true self. He's going to be dangerous for the Saints this year. And now it's finding out who's starting opposite him. Is it going to be Paulson Adebo? Is he going to maintain that starting role? Or is this young buck, Alante Taylor, going to come in and take it from him? Right now, Paulson Adebo is winning that battle opposite Marshon Lattimore, but we'll see in this first preseason game Sunday if Alante Taylor can make some noise.
Well, with the way the offenses are set up now in the NFL, right, you'd have to have more than just 2. Like, I feel like you have Bradley Roby, then you have, obviously, Alante Taylor did extremely good things last year. Like, you have to be able to have 4, 5, 6 of those guys, really, that can basically rotate in and out. How is the cornerback depth looking so far in camp?
Better than it has in a long time. It's actually something we've been talking about on our show is how do you cut down the roster to 53? And we saw so many injuries with the secondary last year, and they didn't keep a big number in that area last year, and it kind of hurt them in the end run. So it's how many guys in the secondary are you going to keep in this 53-man roster when you also are going to have a heavy tight end room right now? They have 4 tight ends. So where is that one number going to come from? Are they going to keep one less wide receiver? Are they going to keep one less DB? I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're actually going to keep a lot of defensive backs on this roster this year, given the way injuries have gone in the past. We actually saw the Saints working in their dime package today where they have 3 safeties on the field. We've seen, like you mentioned, Alante Taylor, Marshon Lattimore, Paulson Adebo. Bradley Roby has been working heavily in the slot as well. Hugo Amadi has looked good. The rookie they just got, Jordan Howden, has looked good as well. So I think it's a room that has a lot of competition. That's what you want this early in training camp, and they're going to be able to weed that out now as preseason games are around the corner.
You've talked about Michael Thomas kind of starting to look like Michael Thomas. Not quite there yet, but he's on the field. He's doing the things that he's doing. You said best on best. I'm not saying he's not the best, but you have another guy on the other side of the field, the other receiver, the Chris Olave, who came in last year, and he was unbelievable. Is he about to take that next step to put himself in the upper echelon of NFL wide receivers coming into this year? Because what he did last year in an offense that really wasn't explosive was pretty impressive. And you'd imagine with Derek Carr and another year under the offense's belt that Chris Olave would take that next step.
Yeah, Chris Olave has been our camp favorite so far in training camp. Today was day 12, so still pretty early on, but Chris Olave has made the necessary steps to have a better second year. He had an incredible rookie campaign with the New Orleans Saints, but one of the things going into the offseason that he talked about was putting on size and being better in contested catches. He's proved that already through day 12 of practice, that he can get up and win these one-on-ones. He actually had the play of the day a couple days ago. He caught a ball on top of Alontae Taylor's head in the end zone. I mean, this guy has stood out. Alontae Taylor did get the best of him today on one of those one-on-ones down the side. I think it was during an 11-on-11 drill. Those two went head-to-head. They've kind of been going head-to-head all of training camp. But Chris Olave has gotten the better of Alontae Taylor so far in camp. He has looked great. The added size, you notice, has made a difference. But him coming out of his breaks, I'm not sure there's a wide receiver better than him right now. And I only say that because Michael Thomas is not back to his old self just yet.
Now, we've all come to love and be very, very, very familiar with the multiple roles he's played over the year. But I've always been a fan of the saying, a jack of all trades is a master of none. Are we seeing Taysom Hill kind of settle into something more solid, or is he still doing everything right now?
He's still going to do everything. They continue to put him in the tight end room and sometimes line him up at quarterback. We've seen him take off with the ball more than we've seen him throwing the ball when he's lined up at quarterback. They're still going to want to use him as that jack of all trades because it works. When you look at the numbers, defenses have not been able to stop Taysom Hill. So until they can figure out how to stop that guy, they're going to continue to do what they've done in the past. And even last year, Pete Carmichael kind of knocked on himself a little bit, saying they didn't utilize Taysom Hill enough in that role last year, especially when you had the issues with the quarterback and you couldn't really figure things out with Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston. They didn't utilize Taysom Hill in a role that probably would have helped them win more games last year. And so I expect to see Taysom Hill even more involved this season, just based on Pete Carmichael talking about how much they missed getting him in last season.
So he does everything, right? Now with Alvin Kamara out for a few weeks, can we see him with a bigger role in the backfield, maybe be in that running back position a little bit more than we have seen him in the past? Because they started doing that a little bit last year. He obviously is explosive with the ball in his hands, especially as a runner. This is just me thinking out loud. I don't know, but with if they don't sign Kareem Hunt, they don't bring up another guy, over those 3 weeks, could we see him maybe get some more touches in the backfield, or is that something they're just going to keep him doing everything else and just not really focus on the running back position?
No, it's a good point, and I think that we are going to see Taysom Hill utilized in that role, especially in the first 3 games. But they really like Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller. This rookie back out of TCU has impressed so far. Remember, he missed minicamp and OTA, so we didn't really know what the Saints were getting with him just yet. But he has burst onto the scene in training camp. He's taking a lot of the reps, getting a lot of volume, and I think that's by design because they know Alvin Kamara is going to miss those 3 games. And you know what you're getting with Jamal Williams, right? He held one of the records last year for touchdowns. You know what you're getting with this veteran running back. But I don't know if they still try and go get a veteran running back like they did with Kareem Hunt. To me, that was kind of a surprise because I thought they liked their running back room, and especially Taysom Hill too in that role. So maybe that's something to keep an eye on. Maybe the Saints still go out and try to get a veteran running back. But no, you're right in saying that Taysom Hill, we might see him utilized in that role more, at least in the first 3 games. And that's a way too for them to see if it's working in this new offense because you have a new quarterback. Right. Is this Taysom Hill, jack of all trades, going to work with Derek Carr? We don't know yet. So you're going to be able to tell that in the first few games.
You mentioned the Saints having a new quarterback, and I'm somewhat of a pessimist when it comes to the Saints.
Somewhat a big pessimist.
Well, I'm just not.
That's a very optimistic view of what you
yourself.
Actually.
Yeah, it's not just the Saints either. It's everything.
No, that's not true. I'm high on LSU this year.
Scary,
but
actually.
I'm just thinking about what happened last year and how the offensive looked. I don't want to blame it all on Andy Dalton because I don't think he was really the problem. More my head turns toward Pete Carmichael, especially after I heard an interview with Jimmy Graham where he was talking about this is one of the most convoluted offenses he's ever been in terms of nomenclature and how the play call comes out and how much responsibility is on Derek Carr in his first year. Why should I be hopeful that the offense is going to look better?
Listen, I get you. I get the pessimism because how boring was that offense to watch last year? I think we can all say that's terrible.
Tough.
I think about the Steelers-Saints loss and just wanting to pull my teeth out, pull my hair out.
Beat by Matt
it was
Canada.
so bad. Exactly. And the Steelers were giving you every chance to win. Anyways, we're not going to talk about 2022.
There you go.
Listen, no, what has surprised me is how much these guys have put their faith and trust in Pete Carmichael, even Dennis Allen, because I was leading on the side of you and the fans that why is he still the offensive coordinator? He did not change anything with Andy Dalton last year. What were the issues? And I get it. Like the offensive line had a lot of issues and injuries. So you can't necessarily blame the play caller with a lot of these things, but they went out and got Derek Carr because he meshes well with what Pete Carmichael wants to do in this offense. The two of them, when they met, I can't remember what restaurant they met at in the offseason, but that's when the two of them talked about what this offense, right. Yeah, probably. This is where the two of them talked about what they want this offense to look like and that Derek Carr will be the guy who makes a lot of the decisions. Now, Pete Carmichael will be the true play caller and offensive coordinator, as we saw with, the passing over from Sean Payton to Pete Carmichael wasn't the greatest. So he's getting another opportunity. I think Dennis Allen moves off of Pete Carmichael if it does not work this year because he's going to lose his job if it doesn't work. If the offense doesn't work, you went out and got a great quarterback in Derek Carr. When you look at the market, they could not have done a better job when it comes to getting a veteran quarterback to bring in and bring this team a 10-7 season. So I'm more optimistic with Derek Carr because the philosophy that he has in this offense with Pete Carmichael is going to mesh. And so far, we've seen in practice that it's worked.
Brooke, I know you're a very busy person, and I don't want to keep you for too long. I just have a few more questions. I have a few more questions for you. Talking about the quarterback position, obviously Derek Carr, I believe, is a huge upgrade. And I believe that he is going to be – people for some reason didn't like him. I was always a fan of him. I think he's going to be great in this offense. But the Saints drafted with their fourth-round pick, they drafted – Jake Haener from Fresno State. Same place that Derek Carr went, right? Apparently he's been getting rave reviews in camp. They say he looks amazing. What is his outlook? And obviously he's the backup quarterback, but learning from a veteran, learning from a guy who's experienced in the NFL, did the Saints finally draft a guy that they can rely on in the future to be the quarterback of the future?
Look, Mikey, I caught some slack because I might have said he looked like a mini Pat Mahomes because of some of the sidearm throws. I'm not saying this kid is the next Pat Mahomes, okay? But I did catch some slack on our show. Look, Jake Haener, the hype is real.
Yeah.
But this is in practice, and this is a team that can't hit the quarterback. That's why we've all just been waiting to see what he does in the preseason. When these teams are allowed to hit the quarterback, the joint practices are going to be big to see what Jake Haener is able to do truly under pressure because he has looked great. We haven't really seen – I'm trying to think. I don't think he's thrown in an interception. I think he threw one interception so far. We're 12 days in, and he's a rookie.
Now you just jinxed him.
Well, it's a rookie. And so, look, he's going to make mistakes, and he's in an offense where he's allowed to make mistakes. Right. But here's the deal. If he does really well in the preseason and he's proven he can back up Derek Carr, but remember, they also have Taysom Hill as a backup as well. I would not be shocked if they use Jameis Winston in a trade because he does have a lot of value. And if you have a really good backup quarterback in Taysom Hill and Jake Haener, which Dennis Allen even said today, he's happy with his quarterback room. He said he has 4 quarterbacks, including Taysom Hill. So we'll see what happens. If Jake Haener, though, puts on for the Saints in preseason in these joint practices, I don't know how long Jameis Winston stays with the team.
Huge Jake Haener fan.
No, we've
I was a huge fan when they drafted.
Yeah,
I like the draft too. I like the pick too. We've only touched a little bit on the defensive backfield.
Whoa. Dude, what the heck happened?
Hennessy, baby.
Hey, how'd that happen?
Knowing him.
Is that like is that the drink break for you guys?
Yeah, exactly. Every time it comes on, we have to take a sip.
That's called new studio, right?
The volume went all the way to 100 right there. All the way to 100.
Let's try to get back on track. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, go ahead.
To the defense.
To the defensive side of the ball, we've only really touched on the secondary a little bit, but can we get back to what we're used to seeing in the past in the Dennis Allen defense, a pretty dominant defense from the start of the year? Do you think that's what we're going to get once this thing kicks off?
They hope so. I will say there's a little bit of a difference this year with the guys they went out and got on the defensive line. He actually went with smaller guys that are more explosive. Brian Brzee doesn't count. I mean, that dude is massive. We've seen him all of training camp, and I'm trying to think of, somebody called him a big Gerber baby today. Colin Saunders called him that.
Is that a compliment?
Because they're all goofy. I don't know. I don't know if that's a compliment, but like they all have really goofy personalities and they've gelled really well. But when it comes to this defensive line, we've heard from the offensive linemen about how explosive these guys are and how quick they are off the line, and they are going to terrorize quarterbacks this season. These are all things you want to hear as a fan, especially with the defense not really meeting its standard last year. I actually think this defensive line is going to be probably as stronger as it's been in several years. There's still a lot of question marks as who's going to be starting opposite of Cam Jordan. At this point, they expect Peyton Turner to finally show up. And if he doesn't, I think this is his last year. It's his last year in New Orleans if it doesn't work out. It's one of those things like it was with Marcus Davenport. They're going to give him the time and the opportunity. He just has to stay healthy. But Brian Brzee, Nathan Shepard, Colin Saunders, absolute dogs that are going to get after quarterbacks this year. And incredibly explosive. It's scary when you see a guy that size who's able to run about as quickly as Alvin Kamara off the line.
Love that. All right, last question. Saints play Sunday, their first preseason game on Sunday. Obviously, a lot of the starters probably are not going to be in the lineup.
No, he said a lot of them are going to play.
Yeah.
Okay, well then here's my next question. What can we expect in that first preseason game? How long are they going to be in there? Who do we expect to see? For the players that aren't the starters, and for the casual Saints fan who really don't ramp up their fandom until the season starts, give us a couple of names of people to watch out for in the first preseason game of the year.
So there are a couple of injuries before this preseason game gets started. Demario Davis, I don't expect him to play Sunday. He's been out dealing with a minor injury. We're not sure when he's going to be back. So my biggest question is who's lining up next to Pete Werner? Outside of that, the starters are going to play, as you guys mentioned. I think they maybe play half of one of the quarters. I don't see them playing an entire quarter against the Chiefs. But the Chiefs also, what's really interesting, this might be a hot ticket to buy. The Chiefs usually start their starters in their first preseason game. So could you imagine kind of getting a better benchmark for the Saints than playing the reigning Super Bowl champs? To me, I'm so excited to see how is Brian Brzee going to look. All of these rookie guys, Kendre Miller, Isaiah Foskey has been incredibly quiet this camp. Kind of been a disappointment because we had high hopes for him, especially where he got drafted. He hasn't flashed yet. We'll see what it's like when you're actually going up against a different team. How's Paulson Adebo and Alontae Taylor going to look? Those two are competing. And then the left guard position is up for grabs. Andres Pete has been out with injury, so I expect to see James Hurst start at left guard. And Trevor Penning also needs to solidify the left tackle spot. But if you're a fan, you want to see Derek Carr connect with Michael Thomas and connect with Chris Olave. If I'm the fan, that's the stuff that I'm going to be looking for and seeing. Can this offense finally be explosive like it used to be when it was – now, I'm not talking about the last year Breeze was in New Orleans.
Right.
Like Breeze in his prime. Can they get back to that is the big question. Yeah.
I hope so, Brooke. I appreciate you coming on the show. You will be on the show hopefully for a lot more times throughout the course of the season. If you need any of your Saints information, check out NewOrleans.football. Y'all do an unbelievable job covering the Saints, covering the NFL, covering the opponents of the Saints. And so I love y'all's content. If you want to get any more content, it's NewOrleans.football. We appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll have you on again here soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I see you guys have beer up there. We need to send you some of our beer.
Yeah, I saw that.
See if I can spin this the right way.
Give us a pitch. Give me the elevator pitch on the beer. Why should I drink your beer?
Citrus Splits.
Oh, man.
If you're not the typical beer drinker, it's not like a crazy sweet citrus beer. I don't know how to put it. It's just the perfect summer beer when it's 100 degrees outside and you're not trying to drink like a Natty Light or a Michelob Ultra. This is your beer. So go and get it at Urban South, or it'll be in grocery stores too soon. So
the Citrus Blitz.
We got to send you guys some.
I'm gonna have to try it. I'll try it on there for you.
Next
Next time you're in Baton Rouge, we'll get you on the show.
Mimosa beer.
We'll get you on the show and we'll have a beer together. How about that?
Absolutely.
Right.
Sounds good, guys.
Enjoy your Wednesday. I appreciate you. We'll have you on again soon.
Thanks.